it shows that. And again, I'm using the data, the binding list. So if I were to say, let's take this row and this row. So I'm talking about the first two candlesticks, which are the two green ones. If I were to go and say delete, you can see how the deletion up there was reflected in the deletion in the chart, because the data grid view told the binding list we're getting rid of those two candlesticks, and then the binding list, because it is also bound to the chart, told the chart, hey, you don't have those two candlesticks anymore, it's reflected. Okay? All right, so how does this now work when talking about multiple select? Okay. Oh, let me do this actually. If I were to say load ticker again, and I select AAL month and I do shift, and I try to pick another one multiple, you know, as I click on one and then click, if I do control click now, it only allows me one candlestick, okay? So that's not working. On the other hand, as I had said, if you go into your open file dialog, in case someone didn't get to do that, and you were to go to properties, under the properties, okay, there is the multi-select. Now, if I were to say true on the multi-select, and I were to now run this, okay, if I say load ticker, at this point, you'll notice that if I click on AAL month, and then I use, let's say, the control key down, I can now pick another one. If I were to use the shift key, I can get a whole bunch like that. So I can now presumably pick multiple things. In fact, let me see what happens if I do that to see, well, I'm only supposed to do one. Well, my code is only looking at the very first one on the file name, because, and by the way, this is AAPL. If I were to do this again, just so that you can see what happened, if I were to now instead go all the way here and do MAS week and pick a bunch of others, and I hit enter, notice that it's the first one that I pick, MAS week, that I get to see, okay? And again, if I were to pick this guy in the middle, whichever one that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This big candle here, if I now delete, that big candle should disappear, and indeed it disappeared and everything, okay? Now, you know, this is hopefully for some of you an opportunity to go, oh wow, I think I can build something from that, from those kind of interaction between different controls, you know, make your own Rube Goldberg type contraption, okay? But we are going to now use that for multiple files. So earlier I asked, when you click on the open file dialog, by the way, you had your hand up.
Yeah, so if like the binding list, how do you actually create that in the code, or is that done automatically?
How do you put that in the code?
Yeah, like, is that something you have to explicitly do, or is that how?
Oh yeah, it's something you have to explicitly, you have to create one. So the way you do, you create a variable, you know, you can type it, binding list of candlesticks. In fact, you see, do you have anywhere in your code where you say list of candlesticks?
Yeah.
Well, grab that, put it on another line, and instead of list, put binding in front of list, so that you're making a variable. Call it BL, I don't know. The binding list of candlesticks. Let me see if I have that for you. Okay. Just like you had created a list of candlestick as a variable, you can declare a variable that's the binding list of candlestick. Let me see where I have that in my code. And you know, you create a binding list by saying new binding list, but you have to pass it an argument, and the argument that you would pass it is whatever list you want to make a copy of, but as a binding list. Okay, that's how you end up with the binding list. Let me see if I can find that in my thing, and then we can carry on. Also, one thing that you have that I didn't write out there after the filtering, you also, when you display the chart, you very well may want to also normalize it, okay? So, let me see. Well, in mine, I actually bound it to the list of candlesticks. I wonder why it was able to actually do that. Oh, I did a redirection. Well, but that's how you would do. You see how you can create a binding list? It's just like instantiating any class. You do a new binding list of candlesticks, but you gotta tell it, here's my argument, and you pass it the list, and we'll do that. Okay. So, now how do we want to handle this thing with the new capabilities? Well, what we now want to do is, upon opening the file dialog, we may now end up doing something like this. So I want IBM month, I want IBM week. Okay, you select that one also. Further down, you may want to do AAPL month, because maybe you want to be able to compare the IBM month with the Apple month. You want to see, are they moving, tracking together, whatever. You want to look at multiple stocks. Well, now what you want to do is to, because you don't have enough room here, you want to create for each stock a new form that would display each one